What's good, everyone? Welcome to lesson number 3 for O-level sociology. I am the socio guy, and the topic we will be covering today is research methods. Now, research methods is a very important topic in your O-level syllabus for two reasons. Firstly, it is a compulsory question in paper 1, and you have to answer this question no matter what, hence it's compulsory. And secondly, it is a very, very easy topic, and if you know this topic inside and out, then you have a very, very good chance of scoring in the 20+ region in the total marking of the question, which is out of 25. And this could potentially differentiate your paper from an A or a B. And like I said, it's very easy, so this is a topic that doesn't require a lot of hard work to cover. It just requires a lot of understanding and memorizing a lot of different things. So the first thing we will do in research methods is touch upon the two methodologies that are used in research. And the first of these methodologies, I hope everyone can see this clearly, is positivism. Now, positivism advocates to follow the process of the natural sciences or the scientific methods because, as I've written, it is concerned with following the quantitative methods of research, which are statistical in nature, which you can use to make comparisons, correlate data, and it is looking for objective data, that is, and this positivist method basically says that social reality is objective, and if we can get the data to back it up, then we know that everyone ascribes to these set rules in society. Now, in contrast to this positivist, quantitative, scientific method, we have the interpretivist method, which is more qualitative in nature. And these interpretivists say that social reality is subjective because we all experience things differently, right? How you perceive one event is different from how I perceive an event, and this is what the interpretivists want to see. They are more concerned with people's opinions and feelings, and as a result, this translates into the kind of research methods they use. Now, since the positivists use more quantitative methods, they would use things like pre-coded questionnaires, which could be a simple yes or no, or maybe an MCQ kind of deal, while your interpretivists would prefer to use something like an open-ended interview where you allow the interviewee to explore their thoughts, or you as an interviewer can go more in detail, explain a question to them. And related to these research methods are three principles that sociologists must keep in mind at all times when doing their research. The first is the principle of reliability. Now, reliability has to do with replication. And in order for your data to be accurate and for other people to kind of get the similar findings or confirm what you found, your data needs to be replicable. That is, if another sociologist goes out and carries a study in similar circumstances or using a slightly different variation on the method, they should get close to the same results as you. Now, our second principle is validity. Now, validity, as the name suggests, has to do with notions of truth. How truthful or how close to reality your particular topic is. So, reliability, validity are two terms that you will come across quite often in the topic of research methods. And even later on, when you are studying a few other chapters, you'll see these two words pop up here and there. And lastly, out of these three principles, something that sociologists have to keep in mind when carrying out their research is ethics. Now, ethics of research has to do with informed consent. That is, the people who you're researching, you must inform them the true nature of the experiment, or if you don't inform them of the true nature, you must carry out what is known, I hope you can read this, is debriefing. That is, once the experiment is completed, you inform them that this was for an experiment. You also have to make sure no one is subject to any psychological or physical harm, and you must make sure that you don't use underage individuals or you use people who are sick or something like that. So reliability, validity, and ethics of research are three important principles that sociologists have to keep in mind at all times when carrying out sociological research. Having covered the two research methodologies and the three principles that sociologists must keep in mind, now we will cover sources of data. Now, when carrying out sociological research and trying to get information, sociologists have access to two different sources of data. The first of these is primary data, which is data which is collected firsthand by the sociologists themselves. And I'm going to constantly lean back and forth in this frame to explain you things. So this is data that's collected firsthand by sociologists. And this could include things such as interviews, questionnaires, longitudinal studies, and observational studies. This could include participant or non-participant observation, and within that we have a further subcategory of covert and overt participation. And longitudinal studies are basically sociological studies which are done over a very, very long period of time. There was a very famous study which is in the sociology course book itself, which was done in England, and it looked at people born in the 1950s and tried to map out basically their life course by taking into consideration things like class, gender, ethnicity, and economic class as well. So it covered a period of basically 50 years, and these give you a lot of data which you can then compare and contrast. And then questionnaires also have their various subcategories and sub routes in them. So you have open-ended questionnaires, closed-ended questionnaires, postal or mail questionnaires, and all of these have their own set of advantages and disadvantages that come with them. And lastly, we have interviews, and in interviews we have interviews which you can do in person, you can have focus groups, you can have spot interviews, like when you're in, let's say, the mall and someone comes up to you and says, could you give us your opinion on this particular topic or your opinion on this particular product? For example, you'll be walking around Dolman Mall and someone will be like, can you try out this cologne? And if you do, and they'll be like, what did you think of the scent? What did you think of the packaging? So that's kind of like an interview. They want to know your thoughts and what you basically, how you feel about the product. Now, our second source of data is secondary in nature. And this is data that already exists. And this is quite important for researchers because it can be cheaper to, find this data because it's already there. As I've written here, you can get things from newspapers like articles, you can find government statistics online, you can go through historical diaries, or even use case studies. So all of these methods, again, I'm giving a very brief description of everything, but when you do start studying all of this through the course book, and when you get into studying sociology, you'll see that there are lots of advantages and disadvantages for everything, and also what kind of sociological school of thought prefers to use which method. So that pretty much covers it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed this brief lesson on research methods, and I hope you tune in next week for a continuation of O-Level Sociology. Take care.